G'day everyone, thanks for stopping by. Tonight I'm just chucking some spark plugs into the zx636r model that you see in front of you here. I've done it quite a while ago, and I remember it was a bit of a pain in the ass, some particular parts, and there is a video on here of somebody changing spark plugs on the exact model, and I did post up a comment on that saying if I remembered to pull the camera out when I was doing mine, I'd chuck up a video as well. At the moment you can see I've got the tank up, and just going to give you a few pointers here. What you need to do, I'm just going to get back there, you can see I've got the seat off here. So just a couple of things that you need to do that, if I remember correctly, caught me out last time. You've got your two small side panels that look something like this, either side, which actually need a bit of a blackening or a spray. One side's got one Allen key, Allen bolt, the other one's got two, there and there. One of my bolts had actually cross-threaded, so I had to get out the Dremel and cross-cut that one to actually get it out, but once I did that it came out alright. So you'll take those two out, sort of one down here somewhere and another one up here, and whatever on the other side. Then you're going to need to remove your seat. There's a bolt here and one on the other side as well that need to come out. They're real easy. Now if you've got your toolkit that come with the bike, you're actually going to have the right size Allen keys for this. I'm not going to be able to tell you what sizes they are because they're a bit old and dirty and I can't tell. What you're then going to do is go around, well, either side. You can either get in and here once you've, hang on, let's go back a step. Then you've got a bolt that sits in here that holds the front of the tank down. Now mine's actually cracked, so I'm going to have to do some plastic welding on this to get this sorted out. Then you're going to actually find that you still can't get the tank up, and that was what caught me out the first time. But if you come down, you've got two larger Allen bolts that sit in either side of the tank here, and you can see they go through here in the tank. So even though you've undone that bolt at the front, you're thinking, yeah, I got it. It's not the case. They look something like that when you pull them out. So there's some spacers and stuff in there that actually make them fit into the frame. So pull those out, keep them separate. Then we've got to get in and actually undo the fuel line that goes to the tank. We'll see if we can get you a closer look at that. And let's get it to focus, and there we go. So you can see there's actually a couple of clips on those lines. I've actually gone for the other side. You can go for either or, and you can see these little plastic tabs. You can actually do these one at a time. Just get a screwdriver, push them in, and then push the other side in, and then she'll actually pop down. And I'll show you what that looks like from the other side. Looks like there's been some rubbing going on here as well, but anyway, so be it. Okay, once we've done that, I'm actually going to take the whole tank off. It just makes, because we've got to get the airbox and all that sort of stuff out. So, and then we're going to come back, undo the bolt here. Just going to swing you around the other side of the tank so you can see the fuel line that we've taken off. So there it is there. Once you've actually got the two clips pushed down from the top, you'll actually notice the bottom plastic bit just pops out like that, and then you can actually just pull that straight back off. There's the feed line there, and the fuel pump with its arse hanging out the bottom of the tank. And then you've actually got some power, comes back here and attaches in here. So, screwdriver, pop it in the thing, lift the tab, pull her out, and then we're good to go to pull that tank off. Now just one other thing that I want to show you is that once you've popped that tank up and you've taken that bolt at the back, which I've got to do, and you need to get in under there, just grab yourself a stick or something like that and just prop the tank up. It is a royal pain in the freckle if you're trying to hold that up and hold it out of the way and trying to pop the tabs off these bloody fuel lines under here and disconnect everything. So just brace it up. Even better if you've got a mate standing around, say, buddy, hold this. Another bit of advice is when you're going to do this, because you want to remove the tank, try and run your fuel down a little bit. Don't be messing around with a full tank of fuel. Obviously you're going to get a little bit of fuel around. There's less to spill, obviously, if you've got less in it, and it's lighter and it's easier to manage. So if you do get a buddy to hold on, you might only have to give him one beer instead of two. Alright, I'm going to undo this back bolt here, and then we're going to lift that tank away. While I've got it all pulled apart, I will put it back together later on to actually just turn her on, make sure she runs alright, and then I'm actually going to charge up the battery on a charger overnight. Doesn't get ridden as often as it should, or I would, but she needs a real good clean. I've got some paint flaking off these bloody things here, and probably have to pull them off. They're just cheapies off eBay, and sometimes you get what you pay for. Unfortunately, in this case, it was true. Anyway, alright, we're going to get stuck into it, going to remove that bolt, and then we'll get in and we'll have a look at the air filter box, Airbox, whatever you want to call it, and we'll pull that out, and then we'll get in and start having a look at these plugs. Talk to you soon. Okay, so when you get under the Airbox, you'll see there's a couple of Allen sockets here, or bolts. Now you're going to need to loosen these up because they tighten up on the rubber that comes off the bottom of the Airbox, and goes under the breathers there, so you need to undo the 4 of them, one there, and one on each of the other cylinders there. So gonna pop under there, loosen them up. I've undone the hose off the back here. I can't remember whether I needed to remove this one here or not, but actually to hell with it. I did buy circlip pliers, so I'm actually going to remove that, and hopefully I'll come back and we'll have it off. While we're here, while we're talking about getting these off the bottom of the Airbox there, get yourself a reasonable set. I mean, these are only cheapies from Super Cheap or something. They might have cost me about $10 for the set, but that sort of jobby there, not going to work, because you can't get in with it to where you need to get, and even if you can get it into it, it's not going to actually give you the ability to move. So what we actually want is one of these. Hopefully you can see that. No, you probably can't. Hang on, let's do that. There we go, hang on. With the ball end on the end, because that allows you to sort of get it in a bit of an angle here like this, because you're not going to get real straight, and it still allows you to loosen it up. Now while I'm actually loosening that up, make sure you loosen them really well, or loosen them quite a bit, because what you're actually doing is obviously releasing the clamp here. Obviously you need to get those off, but if you loosen these up heaps, it makes it a lot easier to get them back on. If they're real tight and they're barely larger than the actual cylinder that they've got to fit on, it makes it hard to line up all 4. So loosen them up, not all the way, but a good amount. So when you go to lift the Airbox off, there's the nut sort of thing, or the whatever that physically slides under here, so you can't just lift it straight up. What you actually need to do is lift it from the rear first. Once you've undone all this, lift it from the rear first. So it'll actually lift all those clamps off these cylinders here, or the air intakes, whatever they are, and then you'll actually find there's one more hose here. So we're just going to remove that, and I'm just going to drop that backwards so it's out of the way. Going to leave it attached as far as the fuel line goes, because I've disconnected it there, but it doesn't seem to want to come off. So not going to faff about with it. Just going to pop it back out of the way. Okay, here we go. Here's all your spark plugs here. It's on the 1, 2, 3, 4. Obviously not necessarily in that order, but the reason I refer to this as number 1 is the far left one is the hardest one to get out, basically because you can see the frame here. If we look straight down on it, if you're coming straight down on it, you'd be pretty much about here. So it's a royal pain in the ass to actually get this spark plug out. I think I used multiple sockets or something last time, I can't remember. Once I figure it out again, this time I'll give you a shout. These ones are all, as you can see, not necessarily in the way of the frame. You can just use a normal socket extension and get down to it, and away you go. But they're seated quite deep. Actually pull the plugs out, I actually have to grab that with a pair of pliers or something like that to pull it out, because it's seated quite solid. And you'll even see here, even to get that out, you've got to sort of bend it over and towards the inside of the bike to get her out. Sorry, give you a proper view. And so you can see how far down they're seated. You can't see that, but it actually looks reasonably clean. And there she is, and we've got to get down in there and actually get that spark plug out. So I'll start figuring this out again, because it has been a while, and once I've got it done, I'll come back later how I do it. Alright. So I've basically remembered what I had to do last time. I remembered it involved a number of socket extensions and stuff like that. So what you'll actually see is I've got the socket that actually fits the plug, CR9E in the NGK brand. Not sure whether you can see that. Anyway, it says a 5/8 or in brackets 16mm. So the plugs themselves, I'll actually show you one that I just removed. I actually went to the second cylinder first just because I want to make sure that the socket and everything that I was using was the right one, and it wasn't just the challenge of the getting it out of that left side that was actually giving me grief, and I had everything else that was working. All I needed to do was just be a bit patient. So pulled the other one out just to make sure I was right. So you can see they're tiny, and I think you can see how much thread's on that. That's like nearly, I don't know, inch and a half or something or more. No, probably maybe an inch and a half, whatever. But there's an awful lot of bloody thread on the end of that. So that just reminded me that, yep, well, I thought the other one should have been coming out, and it wasn't. It wasn't the fact that I was doing anything wrong. It's just that the thread is so long, it's going to take a bit more effort. So anyway, just to get around to showing you what I did. So here we go. Welcome to the office. So I'm going to try and do this one-handed. So we've got the socket, which fits the plug. Just do that. Then what I've actually got is a socket extension. I don't know. Probably about 3 inches, maybe, give or take, maybe a bit shorter. And then in top of that, I've actually got an adapter, which is for a socket. I think it's 3/8 to a half or something like that, and that just gives you that little bit extra. Because what you'll actually find is, and just let me hold you here, is you've actually got to. Sorry about that. I've actually got to pop the extension into the socket. Get some of this stuff out of the way. Drop your socket. You can see there's just enough room with a bit of force. Push your socket and extension. Alright, one-handed here. It's just on the edge there, I think. Hang on. Don't bugger anything up here. Drop your socket and extension in, down onto the spark plug. Just push it down so she seats a little bit. And then what you'll actually see, that's a little almost flush with the top here. So it's really hard to get your socket in there because it's, you know, bumping on the bolts and all that sort of stuff. So if you get your little adapter, like I've got here, drop that in the top. That raises it up a little bit. There we go, so it raises it up a little bit. And then what you can do is actually use the smaller socket. Again, I think this is like 3/8 or something like that. It's a smaller socket option anyway. You can see the size of the head on that for the socket. And that can fit in there. Still a pain in the freckle because you've got all this stuff to work around, and like I said, you see how much thread you've got on that bloody thing. So it's going to take quite a while before we can actually get it loose enough to do it by hand. And then what you do is you reverse that. You take the ratchet out, you take the adapter out, and then you try and get lucky and pull your plug out with the last extension, and then the socket. I think I actually had to pull it out far enough to get hold of the socket, then remove the extension, then pull the socket and the plug. Told you, pain in the freckle. Come back to you when I've got it done. And there's the nasty bitch there. So eventually did the same, like I said, just had it all the setup that I explained a little bit earlier. Pulled the adapter out, and then actually pulled the socket out. It actually came off the spark plug with the spark plug in there because it makes it too long to pull out the extension with the socket. So what I then did was, you can actually almost get it with your finger. If you've got small enough fingers, you might be able to hook hold of the spark plug and drag it out. But what I've actually done is drop the socket back in without the extension thing on it, push it onto the spark plug, and then I just grabbed one of my Allen keys, turned it up that way, dropped it in, pushed it to the end of the socket, and because you can see on the end of the spark plug there, you can, you know, drop the end in, just sort of hook it in there and drag the thing up, and then grab it by the end of your pinky. So as you can see, these are a bit overdue for a change. So not too bad, but not fantastic either. If I remember right, for the last time I changed these, they're probably about the same, so they've been in there for quite a while. and you can understand why now, and it made quite a difference. So clean the airbox. I sprayed some air intake foam in here as well, just to give it a bit of a clean up, clean the bottom of the injectors. So hopefully she should be running a little bit better. We've got the toy run coming up, which is Salvation Army toy run for kids. So give toys and money for the Newcastle, New South Wales area, and it goes towards the kids for Christmas. So good cause anyway. So we don't want a bike that's not running good for that. Anyway, so that's it. Everything else goes pretty smoothly. Bang bang bang, the rest all come out pretty easy. You can get into them straightforward, and it's not all the bugger wires around here. So there you go. Hopefully that helps everybody. If you need to get around, feel free to ask questions. I'm probably not going to be able to offer you any more information on this. I'm certainly no mechanic, but figured I was going to have a go at this once myself. Frustrates me, I have to send the bike to the shop for this sort of stuff. So probably take the second one, one of the others. Make sure all your tools fit before you actually start frustrating yourself with the left hand side. Most of your bolts and stuff are 10mm. Anything else you should have in your toolkit as far as Allen keys, with the exception of the bottom of these, the rubbers that go over these here. You'll need a small one. Can't remember what that was, but get yourself a good set of those. Well, a better set of those than just those ones like that, because you're not going to be able to use those. And a headlamp is also good, so you can see what you're doing. Okay, one final thing, hopefully. I did, as I was partially getting through, going left to right, thought I did have a bit of a challenge with the right one, because you can see it is still relatively close to the frame compared to the middle ones. What I actually did was went with two of the smaller extensions. That allows you to drop the socket in, the extension in. Again, it's almost flush with the sort of the lip here, and then you can drop that one in. You've still got room to use your big ratchet when you've got it out. Of course, obviously this one will sit a little bit more proud of that lip, so you just pull this top extension out, grab hold of this, and then pull it out, and there you go. Alright, cheers guys, thanks for sticking by. Hopefully this is helpful. Have a good one.